A person dies every 12.8 minutes from suicide. Of these, 60% are assisted suicides. The medical term for assisted suicide is euthanasia. We've asked some people to explain what euthanasia is in their own words.
To me, euthanasia is assisting somebody in dying.
This form of euthanasia is in liquid form. It is poured into the glass and the patient receives it through drinking. It has a very bitter taste and is not pleasant. She is now in her final moments and she is now leaving us. We then inquired what their personal opinion and knowledge was on the right to die.
My personal philosophy is that we do have that right and that freedom. It is one of those that isn't explicitly stated in any place as in a constitutional right or a state right, but the premise in our society is that we do have freedoms, and those freedoms should encompass everything. Now, if that's what our premise is, I think we also have the right to choose our time of death.
This euthanasia patient has recently taken the medicine to kill herself, otherwise known as pentobarbital. Now we ask some people their opinion on euthanasia and why.
I feel euthanasia is fine as long as it's not abused. So basically what I'm trying to say is people that, are completely running on artificial life, they shouldn't have to go through with that if they don't want to. So I feel like it should be okay in those cases. But if they request euthanasia and they can come out of it, like let's say they have a severe case of leukemia and they don't feel like they can go on anymore, I feel like they should at least try, because they're not running on any artificial forms of life and they still have a chance of coming out fine.
David Pruitt, a man from Oregon with lung cancer, obtained from a physician the standard lethal prescription. When he felt it was time, he took the entire amount. He went to sleep for 65 hours and woke up saying, "What the hell happened? Why am I not dead?" He was so unnerved by the experience that he did not want to go through it again. He died naturally about 2 weeks later. About 9% of all deaths were a result of physician-assisted suicide or euthanasia in 1990. Euthanasia is illegal in the United States, but physician-assisted suicide is legal in Oregon, Montana, Washington, New Jersey, and Vermont.
Next, we asked people if they were in a situation where they were completely incapacitated, would they want to struggle for life or would they rather just die?
That's a hard decision because, there's always a chance that you could come out, but if the odds are like a 90% chance of, if you're in a coma, if there's a 90% chance you're never going to come out, I feel euthanasia might be the best bet.
It depends on the severity. I think that if I was at the point where I couldn't walk or get out of bed, couldn't do daily activities, I would rather just go.
This form of assisted suicide is through suffocation. The gas used is nitrogen. Next, we asked people if the patient should be able to decide when the pain is too much to bear.
I feel like it's definitely the patient's decision, because the doctors don't really know what you want. They only are there to help you get back to health. They're not really the main decider in whether you live or die. It should either be the patient's, the family members, or friends' decision.
Human rights imply the right to die. It is possible to regulate euthanasia. Allowing people to die may free up scarce medical resources. Dying patients may not make rational decisions. It is hypocritical. Doctors are supposed to protect and preserve the life of the patient, but instead they are ending it. Many times, people recover after being told there is no other option.
The dictionary definition of a living will is a written statement detailing a person's desires regarding their medical treatment in circumstances which they are no longer able to express informed consent, especially in advance directive. We asked people, is it acceptable to sign a living will?
Yes, I would feel very comfortable signing the living will, and I think context needs to be presented in that as well, and the fact that I have 2 daughters, and whatever happens to me, that puts me in a position where decisions need to be made about my life or a living will situation, that they should not bear that responsibility at all. As the parent to child relationship would be really strained by that. So I would put that responsibility in some other adult's hands that doesn't have the direct relationship to family.
In Minnesota, the doctor can get up to 15 years in prison and/or a fine of up to $30,000 if suicide results, or up to 7 years in prison and/or a fine up to $14,000 if suicide is attempted.
Next, we ask people, is euthanasia okay for people who are unable to communicate? For example, people who are brain dead?
Well, it would be hard for them to make the call on their own life, but I feel like if a family member wanted to make the call, like if there was a living will set up, I feel like then it would be appropriate for euthanasia.
Next, we ask people, should euthanasia and assisted suicide only be at a patient's request? Or should family or close friends be able to choose the fate of that person?
I think a close family member should be able to do it, or their power of attorney, because that's legally okay, and I think that would be the person that would speak for them.
Next, we ask people if they had any suggestions to alternatives to euthanasia, or if euthanasia was just fine the way it is.
You know, I don't have any suggestions. I don't have any alternatives. I would put it under the premise that I think the right to life is one of the most essential freedoms we do have, and that people should be able to choose if they want to live or die. Even if they are fully mentally sound and they just decide that they're just tired of life, they just don't really see their purpose, I think maybe why not? I mean, this is their choice, it's their life. I don't see the societal impact that'll have on me.